Two people with egg drop soup cups throwing it from the side.
Egg drop soup cups.
I like the artistic method. It surpasses your imagination. You see all those oily spots, they're moving, and that's reflecting the fire.
Yo, what is going on, Indy Mogul? My name is Ted. Today we're talking about the anatomy of a commercial shot. And we're going to be doing this with my friend Kazu Okuda, who's a commercial cinematographer that has worked with Nike, Adidas, Chanel, literally all the major brands out there, you name it. And today we're going to be talking about not only a couple of the most iconic product shots out there, things that we found online, but also some of Kazu's shots as well, breaking into what actually went into the camera, lenses, lighting, movement, and strategy for actually making these product shots look so good. So let's do this. Breaking down this camera move and this camera and this lens, what does it look like to you?
It's slightly on the wide side without going too wide, shorter than a 50. It's enough to look heroic and add a little bit of distortion without over exaggerating. We're definitely looking up into it, and it's a fairly shallow depth of field. So there's actually a focus pull from the logo, from right here, going towards the neck, and then towards the crown where the hand comes in. And that's not an easy focus pull.
What do you think goes into lighting a bottle like this? How does it look so good?
I don't remember exactly when this came out, but it kind of looks like a July 4th kind of thing, potentially, because you have the red and blue going on. Once you start adding these two colors, it also changes the color of the liquid inside. You find the perfect liquid color, but once you add the red and blue lights on the side, that liquid color is going to change too.
Gotcha. So it looks like there's probably two kind of point source lights, HMI or tungsten lights with red gels on the left and the right.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like a, like a V with two sources. And I think it's partially gelled because it does look cleaner from the front. Let's say it's a 4x diffusion. Probably part of it has a strip of blue and a strip of red wrapping towards the back. I don't think it's actually even. I think the red gel is towards the back of it, because if you see it, the red is on the back edge on the right side, but the blue is actually on the front.
That's super interesting. Do you think there's any other lights that were added into this kind of scene?
Yeah, I think there's also front filled, something fairly hard because it's water drops. If you put something too soft in the front, you won't be able to get the water drops to be that visible. There's two light sources here, additional to the side lights. One is a backlight right at the liquid. Let me go get a flashlight. This glow in the back is a fairly small source pointing from the back like this.
Oh, so it makes all the contents inside of the bottle shine.
I think there's a background behind it like this. And there's basically a light hidden under the bottle pointing right at it to create that glow in the background.
It's a beautiful shot. It's like a deceptively simple looking shot. I dig it, dude. Last question that I have about this shot. Where do you think the bubbles come from? Because you see how perfectly they kind of sprinkle out of that label? Is that post, or you think that's natural?
No, this is in camera. And this is probably why it took a whole day to shoot it, just a shot. The drops, I think, are planted. I think they're droplets or droppers. They basically plant drops and just get out of the shot. As far as the bubble inside, sometimes it could be a rigged bottle. There could actually be a hole in the bottle with a small PVC or a tube in it, and you feed oxygen through it. Or if you ask like a special effects person, there's chemicals and stuff you can put inside to create that
bubbly thing you drop a little bit before the take starts. That is mind-blowing.
Yeah, this shot is like genius.
Moving on, let's do the next shot. Ready? These days in advertising, you see like the splash shots a lot, and you see like liquids hitting each other midair. What actually goes into shooting a shot like this?
They say there is a precise way of doing this, and there is the artistic way of doing this.
What does that mean?
It really puts out two variations of the result. The expensive way to do this is you have something to throw or launch the shoe in the exact same place every take. Probably like a catapult or like something with a rubber band holding it. The liquids can basically be like pneumatic air pushing liquids out of a tube or a cup or something. Potentially they are timed with a laser trigger. So basically this is the shot you see, right? And there is a laser trigger here, and then the shoe is under. So whenever this shoe passes the laser, the water is automatically fire.
Ah, so that right when it comes into the middle of the shot, the water's coming in at the perfect time.
Yes, the liquids collide slightly behind the shoe.
Why is that?
The liquids are colliding into each other, but they're close enough that some of that liquid does wrap around the front of the shoe, but it still keeps the front of the shoe visible because it is a product shot. The inexpensive way of doing this shot is somebody throwing the shoe up, right?
Yeah.
Two people with egg drop soup cups throwing it from the side.
Egg drop soup cups.
I like the artistic method much more. If you shoot both, I can say 80% of the time you are going to use the artistic version. It surpasses your imagination. You might have an angle of the shoe that you never imagined.
What kind of camera and lens do you think that they were shooting on?
This is definitely a Phantom. There's other slow-mo choices like memory cam and stuff, but nowadays I think the Phantom is the choice. There's two backlights, like in a cross angle, that's lighting the liquids.
Liquids should, generally speaking, be lit from the back so that you can see them. Water in particular.
And then there's definitely a light from below. Without that light, it's just going to be pitch black. There's also a top frontal light.
That's to bring illuminance for just the front of the shoe to make the product pop a little bit more too.
Yeah, but this is not a difficult shot. I think the most difficult part is getting the budget to rent a Phantom. That's the difficult part of this shot.
Convince somebody to get a Phantom. Just come on, it'll look beautiful. Do you have any advice for shooting shoes?
What is the most important feature of the shoe? It's a balance between what is beautiful to you and what is actually the purpose of the shoe. I think that the metal details and the fabric, the texture of the suede is the most beautiful part of the shoe. But the client's like, no, we're selling that it's waterproof. That's the most important thing. You have to find a middle ground between that, or else you're a complete robot as a cinematographer, I think.
It's at the end of the day, you want someone to hire your tastes and your sensibilities.
With like athletic shoes like Nike and Adidas that I've done before, some of the features is like the lightweight. How do you show lightweight? Or show the same feature in a different way?
All right, let's do this next shot. You ready?
Come into Longhorn Steakhouse for steakhouse cuts, like our one-of-a-kind 14-ounce Delmonico, expertly crafted.
We were hired as the motion control supervisor for this shot. There's a very specific thickness, the very specific amount of fat, oil, charring, color that the food needs to be. I actually did not light or do the camera. However, I was on set itself, so I could speak a little bit about it. So there's a food stylist and a special effects artist.
What's the difference?
Food stylists, their entire job is to make the food look good. The special effects artist is the one that's making the steam, the fire, the sizzling.
What goes into creating a shot like this?
This entire shoot was on a motion control bolt. Each food has a different feature, you know? Are you selling the thickness of it? Are you selling the tenderness of it?
What does the lighting generally look like? How does it get designed?
A lot of it is backlight, large sources from quite a bit of distance. It's more about cutting and bouncing light from the front. This is a very, very large set. The griddle in the front, I think it's probably 6 to 8 feet wide, 4 foot deep. The grill in the back, the grill in the back is about 4 foot long. And then there's about a solid 8 foot behind, so the darkness falls off.
I guess is the point of backlighting it to look a little bit more dramatic and kind of epic?
Definitely. The cinematographer on this chose to keep this moody, cowboyish feel to it. I think it looks very good, and it's a lot more cinematic than a lot of other potential food commercials.
Yeah, food commercials tend to be like so kind of poppy and bubblegum pop in your face.
A lot of stuff with food is reflections. You see all those oily spots, they're moving, and that's reflecting the fire. And also a gold bounce is catching it. You have two lights coming from the back, coming forward, and you have a lot of small reflectors, gold and silver show cards or white show cards to ping and light specific parts of each food.
And by having a gold bounce too, even a white background or a daylight background will get transformed into a more tungsten color to shine onto the steaks a little bit.
So even though you have two back lights from the back shining at you, you have as much sources as you can cut a bounce board. And in these cases, these are like 8 to 12 little gold silver pieces like this.
This is probably one of my favorite commercials that I've seen that you've shot. First of all, how do these light effects get accomplished in the first place?
First, with camera movement, repeatability was the biggest key for this spot. We used the motion control Milo. All besides the final shot, it's shot on one lens. Just to get more lights, I would cut my lens package from 4 lenses to 2 lenses, just so we have another light fixture. This is shot on a 100mm macro lens, and it's a constant T16. This spot is shot with, as far as lighting, 1 4-foot quasar, 1 8-foot quasar, and about 4 aperture 300Ds, the entire spot.
Okay, you gotta help me wrap my head around, like, how is the light being moved across the subject in the way that it does?
So we had a chrome metallic piece of metal that was all bent and had this terrain and curves. So depending on where you pass the light, you will have these lines go in all different places of this metal.
Where was the sheet of metal? Was it on top or below?
No, that's the
product?
surface. It's the surface. And we rotate it in different ways and put it in different places so it looks like a different surface. It's one quasar light being passed through, and we just did 20-30 takes of each one. Instead of having a robot or a motor move the light linearly, we basically decide to just handhold it.
And swim the light through yourself. Basically.
Right, during the takes, you just, doing your little Jedi thing, and you overlay the takes on top of each other. You'll
do, for each take, a different light move?
Yes.
And then in post, those shots get stacked on top of each other.
As far as lighting goes, it's very inexpensive. It's a $10 rental.
I mean, the robot arm, of course.
Yeah, but you could do it with just a turntable, just to have some movement, or you could do it with something static too. It's just different light passes. The biggest challenges of shooting a car is getting lights and camera inside. But the typical way to light a car is use a large source. We use 12 bys and 20 bys to even light a person, So think about lighting a car. You're typically flying at least a 50 by overhead. There's very specific studios that are designed for shooting vehicles, and they have these huge pre-installed softboxes in the buildings themselves. Also, a car is typically glossy and reflective. So anything on the floor you will see. So the typical way to shoot a beauty shot for a car is to light it from above and light it very large. And it also needs to be far enough that it goes out of focus. Because even if you have enough light, you will see every seam of the diffusion and light within the car. This is doing the opposite. It's using the reflections as an advantage to accentuate the vehicle. For us as cameramen, our job is not to sell to the consumer. Our job is to sell to the client. And your job is to help the client sell to the customer. If the client notices and they don't like it, it's not good.
And the client knows their product really well.
Well, there's a very specific way they want their product expressed. And if the diffusion is too close and it's sharp, the clients are going to see the grommets on the diffusions. They want their car to look as beautiful as possible.
Now, before we talk about our last scene, I want to talk about our wonderful friends over at Squarespace, who are making website design super modern and super simple. Now, I know that it's time to stop procrastinating, start putting out that DP, that filmmaking reel for everyone to see. So, first step that you need to do is, of course, upload it to Vimeo or YouTube. And then in Squarespace, you can actually make custom image overlays on your website to bring that reel from Vimeo to your homepage in just a few clicks. Then, all you need to do after that is just purchase a domain, which you can actually do directly on Squarespace, which market over 200 third-party domains like .com, .net, .tv, and of course, just slap it onto a nice contemporary template under the Portfolios tab, and you are good to go. Yes, it is literally that simple. We just walked through making an entire website here in the sponsorship read. So, get started by going over to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, just click on the link in the description down below to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. But now, back to the episode.
To finish off, we're going to start with something a little simple because I know we went into the deep end of some crazy product stuff. I want to talk about simplicity and how to actually nail product shots when it comes to especially tech or when it comes to any kind of product. So how do we make clean shots look good in the first place? Here we go. Let's do the last one here.
Imagine being swept away from holiday hosting.
First, how does it look the way that it does? Because I feel like people at home feel like, okay, I can shoot an appliance, right? I can do that, but it doesn't look this crisp and like the water doesn't look this cool and textured.
The crisp part, using a clean lens and a mechanically sound lens. We actually use the Sigmas because they're very clean and sharp. This was shot on 2 different cameras. I think the wide shots and the non-high speed shots were shot on red, and the liquid shots were shot on a Phantom. These moves are less than half a second.
So from so from that zoom in when we're really close to that water jet to when we get off, that's about half a second there.
Maybe less. The camera's inside the washer and it just pulls out.
And then for this one too, the actual camera's put into the washer too. We're shooting down.
Mm-hmm.
This is lit, and then we're pulling out, and this is that slow motion work again. So
yeah,
that water.
Even if you weren't shooting slow motion, the very difficult part, but also the blessing part about a washer is it's chrome inside, but it's also very contained. So it's actually very hard to actually get a camera in there and lighting in there. So you actually have to kind of bounce side light it. What you do is you use the metal inside as a bounce. I also don't like lighting stuff too even, but it still needs to be in order. So what we did is we lit one from this side and another one from this side. So they are parallel, but they're not parallel to the screen.
Oh, so it looks balanced, but it doesn't look staged where the lights are too perfectly from left and right.
Right. I went into Home Depot a few days before the shoot just to be able to take a look at the products so I could kind of think about how we would light this.
Also, you have water like coming at the camera and you're on the Phantom too. And is it actually on? So this is like real water coming up?
Yes, it's real.
Oh my gosh.
Everybody's scared. And things get wet, you know? So some of the less expensive shots, I actually really like the next shot.
Clean.
So this is a large source, but this light, I think it's 1 or 2 300Ds. That's it. There's an M40 across the set to fill in the shadows on the left and right sides. If you actually look at the reflection, you see a 4x with a black edge. We intentionally kind of put a cross instead of trying, again, it's the same thing as not lighting too flat.
Give it a little texture.
One side is a little bit darker and it falls off more and it just has reflection. The wide shots has been multiple HMIs because we just need to cover a lot of space. It's 20 bys and 12 by 20s. It's very large, but all the close-up and detailed shots have actually been very small LEDs.
Dude, it looks great. That looks awesome. Thank you for walking through all these product shots and for kind of teaching how to use this stuff. Appreciate you, dude. Seriously, see, it's mind-blowing stuff.
Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, guys, so there you have it. There's your episode on the anatomy of a product shot with Kazu Okuda. If you want to ask him any questions, we'll leave his information just down here below. You can ask him any questions and anything else you want to know.
Also, a big thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Again, don't forget that you can start a free trial online at squarespace.com and head over to the link in the description for 10% off of your first website or domain.
Obviously, you noticed that the style has changed a little bit in the show. We are doing this because of quarantine and try to be safe with social distancing. So if you're out there, be safe. Just because you can't actually go out and be on set doesn't mean that you can't make anything. You can absolutely shoot product shots, keep being creative, keep shooting things, and of course, we'll catch you guys next time.
If you point a 20K tungsten directly at the meat, it's going to cook the food. It's going to make it dry. It's going to make it stale.
Oh, the tungsten lights.
So you can't directly light these things, you know?
I just want to make a grill attachment for a tungsten light, like a barn door slip-in grill.